Hello, this is Dale, and welcome to what you need to know about home studios for social media. In this episode, we'll walk through looking at some lighting and how we deal with some of the stuff for a green screen. Well, hello. Now today we're going to talk about some dinosaurs or lighting, whichever you might want to call them. Now these old fixtures may be older than you are. They are incandescent and not the new LED. I do have some LED lights. There are some time and place for them. However, I still use these fixtures because, well, one, they're paid for, and two, they still work just fine. Now, these lamps that you see in here are neodymium, which is supposed to be, back in the day, the reveal light was the new technology, bringing more of the white light and less of the yellow, the warm white that we used to have back in the good olden days. Now they're still a little bit on the yellow side, but they're significantly wider than what we had in the day. Now up above me are what I normally would use, which is just the fixture. Believe it or not, for green screening, this fixture at this elevation works pretty well. It is a 9-foot ceiling, and that gives me a little bit more angle. I have pulled the desk forward only 6 inches. Now in the big world of green screening, one of the things that people talk about like it's some sort of secret is that lighting is the problem. It's always the problem. Well, a lot of it has to do with your green screen material, and we've adjusted that. Now these both have something that a lot of the LED light panels can't do. If I step over here to the side, we're actually sending one light down here to this bottom corner on this side, one floodlight down to that bottom corner on that side, and the same thing over here. And what that does is it allows me to spread the light fairly evenly, and these are floods, so they're automatically going to kind of disperse that hot spot in there. I also have down below one additional footlight. Now I have a professional kind of footlight size, a little small stand over here, but it doesn't get as low as the homemade one will do, and I'll show you that in just a second. Now you see because of the angle of the light, I think you can probably make out just how deep the shadow fall off is in this case, because again, shadow in this area of the green screen is going to cause you some trouble. It's going to make this edge of this desk a little more fuzzy, but simply 6 inches, not 5 feet or 10 feet or something like that, which is ideal if you have a large room that you back your subject away from the green screen and then flood it from different directions so that you have the shadows dim out by the time you hit that back wall. We don't have this option, and you may not have this option in your office, your permanent studio, because you can't do that. You may not have the physical room. This is about 12 by 12 or 10 by 10 room, something like that. So it just doesn't have the space. But just 6 inches, a hand width, is really all you need, all I've found I need to get that shadow to fall off. Now, another thing I want to point out is I did make some changes. I did swap out this little camera base for the tripod. I had a professional tripod in this position, and it was a little taller, and it would kind of cast, as you see my hand, if I've got a good enough angle, you'll see the hand cast the shadow back there. What it did by using this, and this is just something I put in the heat of the moment one day when I needed a problem solved and I didn't have anything available already. This is simply a round weatherproof plastic cover that I had in the garage from leftover from some other project. Ground off at 1/4-20, went into a ball, in a ball mount for convenience. This of course is a 1/4-20 in the bottom of the webcam, but it allows me to get this much lower so that I'm not casting a shadow on the green screen. And I just, like I say, swap those around. So you might have some little minor things like that you want to do. Now from this position we see the leg of the tripod. that little camera I spoke of, and you can see how the shadow is cast down at an angle, but it's also, like I say, a hand width away. If we come all the way up, we find the little footlight, and the footlight again, it was an emergency built type thing. I had the need to drop it down, but I can't just set the light on the ground, so I took a cake pan, yes, that is a cake pan, and a 4 square box with a receptacle, and added a dimmer to it with a switch, and then of course took the fixture and added it to the top of the metal box. It works very well, a little extension cord, and it allows me to be able to dim that light as I need, just for a low level fill. In this scene we see the low level, or the short stand for a light. It works pretty well. That one's not on a dimmer, and in this case I needed one to keep from having that shiny spot on the green screen. However, for a lot of cases, all you need is a little bit of infill, and it can be a little unbalanced. That's a little short stand with another one of these old par spot or can type things. Either be a flood or a spot, depending on the type of bulb you put in. Fan for cooling, and of course you've seen the boom stand, which of course right now is in a vertical position, and it also just has a fluorescent. I think that's a 250 watt, just a general flood. It takes place where most people would use a soft box. Now here we have a literal blast from the past. Now this is an old project that I made up years ago. It is very simple. An extension cord with the end cutoff built into a box. Now this is a light stand box for the 2 incandescent light stands, which now of course can be upgraded to have LED floods in them, as does the footlight. Now, the way this works, this is simple, just 2 dimmers, 2 switched dimmers. I like this style, and it allowed me to drop the lighting down on those 2 old incandescent stand. It's a great technology, still works. Now what it does is each one of those dimmers then feeds a receptacle. You see the receptacle in the side of that box. Kind of old school, but we go back just that far. Now if you were to do something like that, you could take, of course, a standard receptacle, and you have to break this little tab right here out. Let me see if I can get a good view of that. It's just a little metal tab. We break these off. A lot of time you'll find these in houses where the lower receptacle is powered all the time, and the upper one is tied to a switched circuit, so that you have table lamps. Table lamps are still quite a unique way to light a room off a light switch without actually having to run over and flip the individual lamps on. Some people prefer that kind of style. Now you can upgrade this type of arrangement by using something like the Lutron remote dimmers, because they work off of Wi-Fi. And if you like to do wireless, you can use your Lutron app, and instead of having these mechanical pots here, you can actually have a Wi-Fi version for each one of these and identify them in your system. And if you shoot in your home studio, you can adjust remotely a light stand. And of course, if you could find this type of spot or head that uses a dimmable lamp, you can be quite inventive with what you have hanging around your property, your home. It's up to you. The creativity is up to you. Now we can buy LED panels, and about everything that we've got nowadays is going that way, but you do have some abilities to, maybe sometime you just don't have that 5th lamp stand available, that light stand ready to go, and you need to make something up. Well, you can do it. Well, I think we're probably about done playing with green screens. I think we got 3 videos on this. So for an office short, just a backdrop, painted green screens working terrific. You can do some certain things if you're having edges You can mask it. You can work on the lighting. Lighting is the big issue for a lot of people, but it's not a secret. There's no secret that lighting a green screen is a big issue. And natural light, like we have in the office here, the Studio O, it works pretty good until the sun starts to go down, and then it changes our intensity. But it can also be a real problem, like in the Studio Key, the kitchen, the temporary, the multi-purpose room that changes, comes up, comes down. Obviously, I'm not going to paint a green screen on the back of my kitchen wall, but I use this portable screening, and the screening works fairly well. It's a bit of a hassle to get all the wrinkles out, but there's nothing new there. There's nothing new under the sun there, and the light causes issues too, because I have to balance it out, usually pretty hard from one side. As a general rule, the shadows are the problem, which is the reason you move your foreground subject up and put, a couple of 3, 5, 10 feet or whatever size you have. But most people don't have a studio size room, and so that's not really a practical effect. There are even green screen materials that you can hook to the back of your chair or drape a chair with, but you got to be careful there, because not all green screen colors are the same. Do you have to use a green screen paint? There's no law that says you have to. It's up to you. It's your studio. Do what you want to do. I didn't. I wouldn't be opposed to finding green screen paint, but I don't have anything that I could find locally in my area. I may do. And it looks like a pretty decent thing, even with a webcam, an old style webcam that has been around since Moses was in the desert, I think. The Logitech C615, I think, is doing a pretty good job for home studios for social media, where you're broadcasting out or you're doing your thing. So I think that's about it. Let's wrap it up. And I appreciate you watching. Remember, if you can, subscribe on Rumble or on YouTube, or both. Wouldn't hurt me if you just do both. But one is plenty. If I can just entreat you to do that, it will help encourage me to produce more material. And we're going to get back to some of the audio and configuration stuff shortly.